So in this last video, I'm going to talk a bit about some of the automations that I have managed to do. These are both using an app, which if you come over here on the right hand side, you've got the apps pane. And you would need to go to install an app and then find the scripting app. So this is basically a way to use JavaScript code to make things happen in your database. So that's where you would need to go first, install the scripting app, and then you get the option to create dashboards. So as far as I can see, if you have different scripts with different functions, you need different dashboards to house those scripts, because otherwise, you just have the app within within each dashboard, and you need to know which one of those you're going to be using. So I have one for queue scripts and one for project scripts. So I'll have a look at queue scripts first. If I go here to edit code, and then we can have a look and see what the actual code does. So I basically got this together from a couple of different scripts that were already written, and then adjusted what I wanted it to do in some places. So just to walk through essentially what this does, we're saying that the table that this is operating off is the queue table. It will either prompt me to pick a record. So if I just clicked the run button over here, it would ask me to pick a record from the queue to take the actions on. Or, as we'll see in a minute, I have actually got this link to a button field, so that I can just click one button and it will run the script on the record that the button was on. And then this is just defining a couple of things. So record means selecting the record to use, the input record, and projects table is just defining that where anything in the code says projects table, this means the projects table in my base. Then these are the actions that are going to happen. So what it's going to do when I click the button is it's going to create a record in the projects table. It's going to pull the value from pattern on the queue record and put it on the newly created project record. It's going to do the same with yarn, the same with the pattern name. The start date it's going to pre-fill with today's date, and the status it's going to set to in progress. And then it's going to tell me project created. Then when it's done all of that, it's going to delete the record from my queue. So in a nutshell, that's what all of this code does. I'm not an expert in coding by any means. I understand just about enough to get this working with a bit of help, and with looking things up on Airtable's community forums. But you, if you like, can just copy this code completely. I have it available on my website, and if you duplicate the template version I have of my base, this code will also be there already, so you don't even have to do anything. So that is what this button down here does. So what I have done is we have a field which I've called cast on. It's a button type field. Then the label of the button is start project. The action that it's going to take when we click that button is to run a script, and the script that it's going to run is the one that is housed on the queue scripts dashboard. And this is why I say that I think you need multiple dashboards if you have different types of scripts, because you need to select here which one it's going to work which one it's going to work with. So once that's set, what it means is I can click on this button, the script is running, project created, and you can see that it's now gone. That kirigami sweater is now gone from my queue. You can also see that, as I mentioned in the first video, the auto numbering doesn't reorder. It is a unique entry. It's a unique number for each entry you put in this record, no matter if you delete or reorder entries. So if I wanted now to get this to go, to get this to go back into sequential numbering, what you have to do is change this to the number field. And then change it back to auto number, and it will give you this warning. That's fine. And now you can see it's renumbered these and it's gone back sequential. So yeah, that's not super tidy way of doing it, but that's the best I found so far. And the same if you wanted to move around the order of cards, you can pick and drag them into the order you want. And then you could do the same thing I just did, change the field to number, then change it back to auto number, and it will renumber sequentially. So what we've just cast on that project, we've clicked the button, it's run the script, it deleted the record from queue, and it has added a record to my projects tab. So if I go back to Kanban, we can see now that we have Kirigami Jumper is in progress project, which was not there before. It has pre-filled the name based on the pattern name field on the queue record. It has set the status to in progress. It has linked to the pattern in my library, which is then pulled through these fields. It has linked to the record in my yarn stash, which I said I was going to use, and it has pulled through the colorway. And all the remaining fields, it has set the start date as well to today, 25th of October. And all the other fields, obviously, I would need to start filling in, once I've swatched according to the gauge I'm getting, whatever needles I end up using. So I would go here, and it's, I can narrow down. So I can't remember off the top of my head, this is a DK project, so maybe it's 4mm needles. I can say maybe I end up using this one. So I would link to that. I can take that away. Size I will fill in when I've decided what size I'm using, etc. So that has replicated largely the function of the Ravelry queue and cast on function. So it removes it from my queue and it adds a project record, and it pre-fills all of this data based on what the script tells it to do and the data that we had in the queue record. Now, in the second video, we looked at the junction table, the yarn project junction table, which is what allows us to track individual yarn quantities used per project. And we said that, that could be quite unwieldy to maintain, because you would have to keep remembering to go. Every time you start a project, you'd have to remember to go to the yarn project table and, input, link the project, link the yarn, and basically create the record on that table. So I thought it would be quite useful as well to try and automate this. So we have another script function down here. So again, this is a button. The label is populate. The name of the field is junction table, and the label of the button is populate. The action is run script, and this time the dashboard it's looking at is project scripts, and again the app is scripting. So if we just go and have a look at that script like we did with the other one. This one, we can say, okay, the table that it's taking action in is the projects table. And again, the same as before, it works the same way. So it would either, if I just click run over here, it will prompt me to pick a record from my projects to act upon, or if you use it via the button function, it will act on the record that you click the button on. Again, it's defining what record means in the rest of this script. Record means the selected record, the input record, and populate table means the project yarn table. So for the selected record, it is going to create a new record on the project yarn junction table, and it's going to fill the project field on that table with the project ID of this record, this project record that we're working on, and it's going to fill the yarn used with the values from yarn from stash in this project record, and then it's just going to output record created. This one obviously doesn't have a delete record column command because we don't want to delete the project record. So if I close that, if I go back to my Kirigami record and I go populate, that's running the script. You can see it's already selected this one. It knows that because it was the one I clicked the button on, and it says record created. I can close this, close that, close the apps window, and now if we go to Project Yarn, we can see it's created this record Kirigami jumper, and it's pre-filled the pattern and the yarn used, and that in turn has pre-filled the name using the concatenate formula, which was another thing we looked at in the second video. So now it's filled that in one click for me, and all I will need to do when I've completed this project is come in and fill in the number for the quantity of yarn that I used. If there was a project where I had multiple yarns, so for example, if we had used that function on the basketry cowl, it would have created all 4 of these lines for me in one click.